What is up, fight fans? We got Glove Talk, episode 16. Here with
Yes,
my bro.
sir.
About to go over UFC 289. It was Nunes versus Aldana, Olivera versus Dariush, and then we're gonna go over Fight Night. Vettori versus Cannonier, I think, is next. So,
Yeah. Yep.
uh,
We're
I
also
think
we're also gonna we're also gonna send our prayers out to the Heat mascot that Connor put in the hospital.
yeah, I don't know. He must have been. I don't know how you get knocked out. But
That
his
second punch you hit him on the ground with, man. Like, wow. Connor's hurt.
starting here to UFC 289, the early prelims. We had Diana Balbita versus Maria Oliveira. Um, Diana getting the win here. She's winning. I think she won this fight pure off of pure aggression, and I feel like Mariah, she like couldn't go backwards. She had no like counter punching. She's like
Mhm.
more of a forward fighter, and she likes to use her teep kicks. But Dalbita just I think she fights out of Canada, so she's using the home crowd to energize her, and she was just going forward. And her striking was there as well, known as a wrestler, but her striking
Right.
was training out of Niagara Falls, getting the win. So good fight out of her. I'm actually more of a fan of her after that fight.
Yeah, I loved it. It was a good way to start the card. She, like you said, it was the aggression. She kept pushing forward. Um, Oliveira had some success, like dodging Babita's punches to start the fight. Babita just kept going forward, and I think the pressure just got to be too much. Good, good win for her. I was definitely a huge fan of that. And then again, like you said, I'm definitely more of a fan now, and I got to see her do that. Good way to start the card. Yeah, good fight, really good fight. A lot of high level striking in the women's divisions. Good to see that.
Yeah, the women's division, this card actually showing a little bit more than usual card. So then we got performance of the night going to the Aussie Steve Erceg, entering the top 10 after this unanimous decision win over David Dvorak.
Yeah,
Dvorak.
Dvorak. Yeah.
Outclassing him on the feet, even though he was known as a grappler, but showing that he's, improved on the feet as well and getting more better at mixed martial arts as a whole. So, and I'm a fan of him now. I mean, I was a fan of him before, but I'm even more of a fan of him. I think they call him Astro Boy because he looks like Astro Boy a little bit. Hey.
Yeah, man. Steve Erceg, man, he's had rotten luck. The last few years, a lot of injuries. COVID happened. Being in Australia, he's good. He is the real deal, man. And it adds to flyweight, a division that's already stacked with talent. I'm excited. This man's top 10 now. David Dvorak's no easy fight either. And he knocked him down a couple times. He had him hurt real bad a couple times in that fight. I love this. Steve Erceg, man. These, like, we talk about these Aussie fighters every time on the podcast, man. Those guys are fun to watch. They fight like bulldogs. They're in your face. I love it, man. I want to see more of Steve Erceg. I'm glad he's finally gotten his big break. And it definitely makes flyweight more interesting, with everything going on around that division.
Yeah, I think he got called out by Muhammad Makayev after on Twitter. So, that'd be a
Yeah.
fight I'd like to see.
Does Muhammad Makayev have a knee to fight on?
No, I think he's good.
Yeah, okay.
We got, moving up to the regular prelims, we had the Canadian Kyle Nelson, getting the win over Blake Builder. Blake Builder, who he had a controversial win against. Who did he fight last? No, I thought he lost the fight for sure. Let me see. Uh, who did he fight last? He fought.
Young.
It was Steve Young or something like that.
Yeah.
So I thought he lost to Steve Young the last fight, and then him getting exposed on the feet this fight to Kyle Nelson, I think. But Big Builder has a good build. He's a good body. He doesn't really look that natural, but has a good frame. But Kyle Nelson, he's in the crowd. Another guy that used the crowd. I think the Canadian fighters went 5-0, so another guy that used the crowd to help him get the win, which I thought
Kyle
he was fight.
Kyle Nelson, man. He looks like a Viking. He looks like one of those Viking gimmick guys off WWE. He just looks like in a biker gang or something. And then when he gets on the mic after the fight, just typical Canadian, one of the nicest guys you could ever hear talk, man. A great fight. Blake Builder has to move his head more for sure because Kyle Nelson was just doing drills off his head. Good fight though. Kyle Nelson looked really good, man. He looks big for featherweight. He looks really big for featherweight. Um, really good win. Nice way to get a Canadian winning in front of the hometown crowd. He dropped a couple A's in there in the interview. It was nice, man. The Canadian fighters, you could tell the home crowd was definitely behind them. And Blake Builder, man, listen, the tools are there. He's got to put it together, but it's tough. Kyle Nelson's no easy feat. He fights like a sledgehammer. So I mean, uh, good fight for Kyle Nelson, man. And Blake Builder's his first loss. So I mean, it's not the end of the world. He can definitely come back from this for sure. But it was a good fight. Again, this card, did pretty good most of the fights.
Then we had Ayman Zahabi getting the knockout win in round one over how you say this guy, Arika Lang.
Reachling. Yep.
Reach Lang. It was crazy knockout because actually after he got back up by the ref, he tried to like restart round two. That's how bad he was hurt. So good win. I'm always a fan of Zahabi. This is raising stock for me, and it's also in bantamweight. So just getting deeper in them smaller divisions, which we kind of
Yeah.
need more of that in lightweight and heavyweight, but probably won't happen. So.
Yep. Ayman Zahabi, obviously the brother of one of the greatest mixed martial art coaches in Faraz Zahabi, trains out of TriStar, training partner with GSP, Rory McDonald, like a lot of guys coming through TriStar. And Ayman Zahabi was a huge part of that. Him and his brother run that gym. And Zahabi, like, listen, he's 35, but the Zahabis, especially Faraz, have been so good at joint maintenance, like keeping your joints loose, keeping your body well like conditioned. And I think that's something that has benefited Ayman Zahabi at this point in his career. Obviously, he had a 2-fight losing streak in there, a couple injuries, but now he's calm. He's rattled off 3 straight wins in a row. Dominant decision against Ricky Tercios last time, and then this knockout here of Richie Lang. Ayman Zahabi, man, I love it. I mean, he's so smart. Him and his brother, the way they fight and the way they coach, it's like, oh man, hello. Technical difficulties on my end. No, but the way that the Zahabi, the fuck? You
What
know
happened?
what?
Somebody called you?
No, my phone. The stand's acting weird. Back to the Zahabi brothers though, the way that they coach and fight, especially Faraz as a coach, it's so methodical. You see it in their fighters too, like Rory McDonald and GSP, where it's like no wasted movements. And I think that's how he caught Lang in this fight. Was Lang got very aggressive and Zahavi countered him and then just kept going forward his momentum. Missed the right hand, caught him with the left hook, put him to sleep. And then afterwards, the interview was great as well. He wanted a Rolex from Drake after the fight. Now, man, good win. I want to see more Ayman Zahabi, man. I'm always gonna have a soft spot for Zahabi. That name is very much a royalty in mixed martial arts, and it's good for him to get a win in front of the Canadian crowd for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it would be nice. I mean, Drake bets on MMA fights, so he's a fan. It would be nice to see him at a fight or two. But Vancouver is kind of deep. So
It's in the cuts.
then we had Miranda Prodigy or supposed Prodigy
Yeah.
Miranda Maverick versus Jasmine Jazudavicius. You know, that's how you say her last name. I don't know how to say it.
Jazz the Vicious.
Jazvicius. I'm bad with names. I ain't gonna lie.
No,
Or
that's all good. It's all wait. One day we'll make a compilation of you pronouncing names, man. It's fun.
and I think I texted you during this fight, and I was like, Miranda Maverick needs to go train on like Uriah Faber. I feel like there's somebody. I don't
Yeah.
know. I just feel like she's not really utilizing her wrestling and her striking. She's not using her wrestling to help her with her striking. She's really just trying to stand and bang with people who are just outclassing her on the feet. Which I feel like you need to take more of a approach that Amanda took against Aldana. Mixing it up all from top to bottom with every single mixed martial art. Versus trying to just stand with people when you have advantages. But she did try to take her down, but it just went the other way. I don't know. That's what I'm thinking. I don't know. She probably tries to train her striking to catch up with her wrestling a little bit, but then she lacks on her wrestling when it comes to training camp. So I don't know. But Jasmine, good fight out of her. Her striking was on point, and she almost finished her a couple times. She almost had her out of there. So which is kind of rare for girl fights. So
Yeah, Miranda Maverick, man, her kicks were working for her. She just got away from it. I don't know. I don't know what her deal was. She didn't want to fight at distance. Like she was having success keeping Jasmine at distance with her kicks, and then she just let Jasmine close the gap. And when Jasmine closed the gap, she just dominated her. Whether it was getting her to the ground, whether it was just out striking her, like Jasmine Jasudavicius, man, she has looked very good so far in the UFC. Good win for her in front of the Canadian crowd, and it's a wake-up call for Miranda Maverick. I think girls like Miranda Maverick, Macy Barber, these like new age prodigies, man, it's kind of like this wake-up call when, yes, you have the skills. We don't doubt that. There's a reason you guys are prodigies, right? But you have to put it together. If you don't put it together, you get exposed. Like Miranda Maverick could have won this fight. This fight ended up 2-1, right? And they scored it 2-1. All the judges did. I did too. So Miranda Maverick had a chance to win that fight going into the third, and she just didn't. She wasn't there. She wasn't up to it. Um,
He was getting
but
pieced up though.
yeah, but it's the thing. The talent's there, man. It's just piecing it together, rounding out your skills, the wrestling. Like Daniel Cormier said something last night during the Arena Aldana and Nunes fight. He said, if you want to fight at a high level and fight for titles, you have to know to wrestle even a little bit. Like you have to have some wrestling in your game in mixed martial arts. And it's true because it's like you look at the people that don't know how to even defend takedowns, right? They get exposed, right? In any level of mixed martial arts. And if you don't want to wrestle, guess what? Go do Muay Thai or go do boxing because mixed martial arts, unfortunately, grappling is a part of it. Yes, Miranda Maverick's a good striker, but it was the grappling that ultimately killed her this fight. And for Jasmine Jasudavicius, man, like I said, she's looking good, um, especially for that weight class as well. I want to see more out of her. Uh, yeah, Miranda Maverick's definitely this is a wake up call for sure because she's had a couple fights where she's looked iffy and then she finally got exposed like real bad this fight, in my opinion.
Then we got the no contest between my man Chris Curtis and Imavov. You know, Imavov coming off the loss of Sean Strickland. Chris Curtis coming off the loss to Gastelum, which was controversial because he got headbutt in that fight. And then Imavov, you know, he was just against standard stance versus southpaw. You know, and it tends to happen. So headbutted Chris Curtis, leaving a bad cut over his eye. And then he tried to keep the fight going, but the ref didn't even give him 5 minutes. Gave him like 4 minutes. Like,
So per the unified rules, unless it's a low blow, a foul does not is the ref's not required to give him 5 minutes.
oh,
And it sucks. I hate that rule with a passion because Chris Curtis wanted to keep on fighting. You could tell Imavov wanted to keep on fighting too because if it's a no contest, they both lose, right? Um, I think if you give Chris Curtis the 5 minutes, he at least finishes the round off because there was 2 minutes left in the round. And it sucks. Chris Curtis has the most rotten luck right now in mixed martial arts, and he's so good, man. But it's it was just one of those things where, like you said, it was inadvertent. I think him relying on the boxing too much kind of got him in that position to begin with, where they ended up so close near the cage, trying to strike. Um, and yeah, the cut was bad. I think it was more just the effect in his head of taking a shot that big to the eye, basically, because he couldn't see. No matter how much he tried, it wasn't an issue of blood or swag in his eye. He just couldn't really see, and it sucked. You want to keep on fighting. I get it. This is real money. This is real life. And he's 35, so it's like you're playing with people's careers. I was angry at Herzog, Jason Herzog, when he made the call in the moment. But looking back on it, listen, his job is to protect the fighters, and I have to respect that. He didn't do anything outside the book. He didn't do anything that was controversial, in my opinion. He did his job, and it sucks. That's the reality of it. He did his job. He followed the rule book. Uh, and I hope the UFC tries to rebook this fight because it could have been a really good fight. It's unfortunate it had to end that way, but
I love Chris Curtis, but let's be honest, he was probably losing that fight as
yeah,
it was going, and then it looked like he probably could have got finished, you know. So he's got to tighten up and stop doing such a boxing heavy approach. It's a mixed martial
I
arts.
wish he would cut down to 170. I know it's a huge cut. I know it would take time for his body to adapt,
It'd be a
but he's too small for 185. Like
just
they're
his body build is too small.
yes, yeah. He has Kelvin Gastelum syndrome.
Yeah, you got to think about like people at middleweight are guys that are naturally like 200 plus. So
Yes, and they're all
big.
6'1", 6'2" now.
Yeah.
Like you're fighting monsters at middleweight now. Like it's tough. It's a tough division.
Then we had Mark Andre versus Eric Anders. I think how you say Mark Andre's last name? Baru.
Barreau. thing.
bro.
Yeah.
Fight of the night going to this fight, which I thought was a good fight, but I don't know. To me, this wasn't fight of the night. But Eric Andrews got that Joe Rogan juice now, so
Listen, it was a good episode on the podcast. I enjoyed it. Um, Now, Eric Anders, listen, scoring at 30-27, all three judges, I think that's wild. I gave one round to Eric Anders, um,
which
but I'm
round?
not.
Which round?
I think it was. I want to say two. I think it was two. Is the one I gave to Anders. No. See, that's the thing. This fight was so chaotic. I can't even piece the rounds together at this
I think I
point.
gave the round one because that's the round where you had him in the clinch and he was kneeing him back. He was
Yes.
getting him over and over
Okay.
again.
It was round one. And listen, Marc-Andre Barreau got the win. But it was a good fight, but it wasn't convincing either. Like Eric Anders could have won this fight. He just got tired. Like he got gassed trying to take him down so much, and that's when he ended up getting caught. And for Eric Anders, man, it's frustrating because he's so athletic, he's so smart, but he can't put it together for some reason. I don't know why. Like
Some people
he's
just don't got it in him, bro.
I think the Muniz fight really started showing cracks in the Roundtree, the Khalil Roundtree fight, right? Because Khalil Roundtree got his legs, Muniz submitted him, and now Marc Andre Barreau just dominated him in the clinch game. Um, Listen, Eric Anders, man, he's getting up there in age. I'm not saying he's near done, but he's got to start railing off some wins, or else he's gonna get cut. That's just the honest truth. I don't think it was fight of the night. I not at all do I think it was fight of the night. I think Mike Malott got robbed on that. But hey, it is what it is. Yeah.
Then we had the OG Danny Gay, getting the win over Nate to train. Sadly, I'm a Nate fan, you a Nate fan. We wanted Nate to win this fight, but respect out to Danny Gay and some of these OGs, man, they're pulling off some wins. Danny Gay, Pedro Munoz, who's the other one that won? Rob Font.
Mhm.
So these guys are showing that there's still another level to
Yeah.
martial arts. But Nate's still there. He's still right there. He's not too far off. So
No, for sure. Let me pull this up because Dan Ige has 6 losses on his record, right? But Dan Ige lost to Dan Ige lost to Julio Arce early in his career, another guy, right? In the UFC after that, he's lost to Calvin Cater, Korean Zombie, Josh Emmett, and Mozart Iloev, right? That is a murderer's row of fighters. And it's all decisions. He didn't get finished by any of them. He took them all the way to the cards. Dan Ige is a great fighter, man. All my respect to Dan Ige. I hate that Nate Landwehr lost. Especially, it was frustrating because Nate Landwehr was making mistakes that got him in that position. But Dan Ige, man, you got to feel good for him. He's finally putting it together. He's got a win streak going. And he's always been that guy, kind of like a Derek Brunson of the division, just kind of the gatekeeper from top 10 rankings to guys that want to fight top 5, right? It's tough. He has fought the best of the best in that division, and he's lost. You can't help but hope that he might, you know, start running off another streak here. Maybe go for the top 5 again. A good win for him though. He looked very good. Danny Gay's game, man. He keeps it so tight. He keeps it solid. He doesn't go out of his boundaries to try to win a fight, and I love that about him. And for Nate Landwehr, man, listen. Obviously, he could have done some stuff better, but nothing to be ashamed about either. He fought. Almost got finished a couple times, and he fought his ass off the whole fight. Great fight. It was one. This is one of my favorite fights on the card, even before the card started. I loved it when it got announced, and I want to see more of both guys. I love it.
then we have the Canadian Mike Mallet, a guy who was vocal in all the interviews before, and a guy who seems to be, a fan favorite with some of the UFC fans recently, getting the submission win in round 2 versus Adam Fugit. I like Mike Mallet. I think he's a good fighter, and it's the right weight class for him in welterweight, and I think the welterweight right now needs a little bit more fighters to speak up a little bit because you got guys like Leon. You got like Kobe Covington, who's like the most talking guy, the guy that talks the most, you know. And you got
Yeah.
Leon, who doesn't really talk that much. I mean, who else in welterweight really, you know, has a lot of fans behind them?
Right, right. No, definitely not Bilal Muhammad. And I would say Gilbert, but now Gilbert's probably not going to fight for
And you
another
got
year.
Masvidal, who retired, so you know.
Yeah, and listen, Mike Malott almost got killed by the railing when he was walking out.
Oh yeah, so yeah,
That was wild. Now he's got the Nelk Boy sponsorship going. And I had my doubts because Mike Malott, not the last fight, but his first fight in the UFC, he almost got knocked out by Mickey Gall before he came back and won the fight. But he's looked so good since then, man. And the way he finished the fight, he knocked him down, synced in the guillotine, man, got to the spot he wanted to. Um, Good win. I like Mike Malott, man, a lot. I like I like his style, I like his charisma. I think it might be time to start booking him some ranked fights at welterweight for sure. Start testing him out, start seeing if he can handle it. And I think regardless, you're going to get a good fight with Mike Malott. I think he's going to give you uh, a fight that's going to contend for Fight Night, no matter what.
and then we had the co-main. We had my guy Benil Darush, who I thought was the best lightweight in the world, losing by ground and pound to Charles Olivera. You know, Benil winning the fight at first. You know, he kind of had Islam strategy when he had Charles on the ground. He was kind of ground and pound him the same kind of way. But instead of staying down for the whole round, Charles actually got up, pushed off with his feet, ended up exchanging in a striking exchange, hurt him with a head kick, and then finished him with some ground and pound. You know, I don't know, Benil. I mean, it didn't look like Benil wasn't Benil. Benil looked good. It just looked like Charles, just does what he does. He weathers the storm, and then he goes for the kill.
And Benil Dariush, what a lot of people don't realize is he is a very decorated grappler. And he comes from the Gracie Barra, background. So him and Charles, watching them on the ground last night, it was like watching chess, and I loved it. Charles was doing these hip escapes seamlessly. Benil was staying calm. Benil stayed calm when he almost got heel hooked. Charles was landing elbows on the ground from the bottom. Benil was landing straight. It was beautiful. It was a great fight. And then when he got up, I don't know what's in Charles Oliveira's muscles, man, but he hits like a truck. It does not make sense at all. The man now has a finish over every lightweight in the top 5 in the UFC. That is insane
As
when you
Islam.
think. Beside it, well, yeah, beside Islam, who's the champ, but like 1 through 5, uh, all the other guys that aren't him, that aren't Charles Oliveira, he has a finish over, right? Poirier, Chandler, Beneil Dariush, and Justin Gaethje. That's nuts. And we've watched those fights. All of us have. I think you look at Charles Oliveira, right? His last fight against Islam, he definitely was out of it. I think he was burnt out from all the weight cuts, from the injuries, right? I'm glad he took his time off and he lost his belt because the version of Charles Oliveira last night beats Islam Makhachev, in my opinion. That guy, he has that killer in him again. He has that happiness back in him again. And it sucks. I love Benny Dariush, man. Benny Dariush, I want him to get a title shot. It sucks. It's part of the fight game, man, and so, especially in such a stacked division. But good on Charles Oliveira. Dana said they're going to make that
Is
fight.
lightweight stacked or is it top heavy? Top heavy.
It's top heavy, but the top is probably the top 5 or 10 is probably the best top 5 or 10 in any division. The
I don't
UFC
know. In terms of selling pay-per-views, maybe, but I don't know.
in terms of champs and interim champs,
In terms of skill,
Gaethje, Poirier, Chandler, who's a
no.
two-time champ of Bellator.
You look at featherweight, you got Volk, you got Max Holloway,
That's
you
it.
got Yair.
Dude, no. Well, look, okay. We'll go down. So lightweight. You got Oliveira, Poirier,
Well,
Gaethje, Dariush, Chandler,
middleweight.
Fiziev, Gamrot, Sakurian, RDA, who was a former champ, Jalen Turner, Dan Hooker, Ismagulov, Moicano, Frivol, and Grant Dawson. Like, in terms of talent-wise, like, that top 10, at least, that top 10 is stacked. I don't think it's as loaded as bantamweight per se, but in terms of like guys that have been champs, that have been the top of the sport, that top five at lightweight is ridiculous, right? And for Charles Oliveira to have run through the division once, and now, okay, Islam hasn't defended his lightweight belt, right? The fact that Charles can regain his belt and run through the division again and pull a John Jones is nuts. It's nuts to think about. Especially he beat Beneil Dariush on an 8-fight win streak, right? It's not like he beat some, you and me know this. Beneil Dariush, in our opinion, was the best lightweight in the world going into last night, right? I love it. This is perfect. The UFC is going to book it for Dubai. You got Dustin and Gaethje fighting each other. Chandler's doing whatever with Conor. It all worked out. The dilemma that we thought was going to happen with the fight booking worked itself out. And last night, yeah, man, great fight. Oliveira got another finish bonus as well. Extends his finish record as well. He's him, man. The champ has a name, and it's not Islam Makhachev. I know he put that levels tweet after the fight or whatever. Yeah, nah, Islam needs to humble himself a little bit, bro.
Yep, and then we got him going into Muslim territory again to see, we're going to have the religious war. I mean, no matter who won this fight, you're going to have a Christian guy going into Muslim territory.
Yeah, exactly.
So
Yeah.
that's why I say I didn't mind who won this fight. I didn't really care. I just thought Beneil was better. But
yeah.
Then we had the main event. We had Amanda Nunes retiring after clean wiping Irene Aldana. People got to take notice. This is a short notice fight. Also got to take notice. Also in the co-main, Charles. This is actually he was coming off an injury. Like this fight got pushed back because Charles was injured or something. So
Yep.
also, so we got to give him credit there. But back to the main, Amanda, just showing that she was better everywhere. She's better on the feet, better on the ground, better in the clinch. Which she would have still shown that against Juliana Pena. I think anyway. So, I mean, I don't know. She said if it was Juliana, she wasn't going to retire. Actually, she wanted to fight someone fresh and then retire. So she would have beat Juliana again and then retired after fighting Aldana. So.
Juliana Pena's tweets after the fight were absolutely hilarious. And I mean hilarious in the sense of, hey, Juliana Pena, I'm Venezuelan too. I got a soft spot for you, right? So if you hear this or watch this, shut up. Just stop. Just stop, bro. You're talking about you scared Amanda Nunes away, right? Amanda Nunes hit you with a hook, like a anchor hook, right, at the last fight, and dropped her like she was in the Flintstones. And Juliana Pena has the nerve to talk about she scared Amanda Nunes away. Yeah, nah, bro.
She could have finished her. She literally beat her up for 5 rounds when she could have finished her.
Yeah, and Amanda Nunes did the same thing tonight. The only reason Amanda Nunes did all those takedowns was to break Sarah McCann's record. Amanda Nunes is nuts how dominant of a fighter she is. I think obviously you have like GOAT status in men's and women's. I think if you make a Mount Rushmore of both genders, Amanda Nunes has a conversation to be up there as one of the greatest mixed martial artists of all time, regardless of gender. She is that good. And I think for Juliana Pena, she kind of has like Kayla Harrison syndrome now, where she sees a money fight go out the window, so she just complained to everybody about it. And Amanda Nunes makes a good point. Whoever gets the belt now, they're the fake champ. It's just for now, this generation coming up, that belt, you're always going to look at it as if, okay, what if Amanda Nunes came back and beat Juliana Pena or beat whoever's the bantamweight champ now? That's how good Amanda Nunes is. So
actually, let's look at bantamweight.
Bantamweight.
Who do you think is going to be the champ? I don't think it's going to be Juliana.
Raquel Pennington is a good shout.
Featherweight's basically dead.
Featherweight, they're probably going to retire that belt, for being honest. Mayra Bueno Silva and Carol Rosa are good shouts for the future.
They better not give Holly Holm a title shot.
They're going to do Raquel Pennington versus Pena. That's what I think.
Holly Holm has a fight coming up. If she wins that, they might be like, let's try to give her one more shot.
Yeah, they're gonna do Pena versus Pennington. Pennington was the backup for the main event last night, which was dumb in my opinion. Why give the shot to Aldana when you could have just had Pennington, who was a higher rank, fight her on short notice. She's the backup
Well,
anyway. It made no
Pennington
sense.
probably said no.
Yeah, which I get it. She's trying to protect that. I get it.
Or
It
they already
just
fought before, right? Oh,
yeah.
yeah.
There's a lot of variables in there.
Amanda said she wanted to fight someone new so she could retire. That's what it was.
I think Raquel Pennington beats Pena, and it's probably gonna be Raquel Pennington um being the next champ. But I mean, the one name I see here that stood out to me is Mayra Bueno Silva, number 10. She's young. She's the youngest out of this group here. She looks so good when she fights. I think she's the future in that division. Because you look at Holly Holmes, 41 now, right?
Yep.
Raquel Pennington's pushing late 30s. Pena's pushing late 30s. Yana Santos shouldn't even be ranked, in my opinion. Um, who's the other one in here? Yeah, Reno Aldana is 35 coming off this loss. Mayra Bueno Silva is like 25, 24, 25.
Yeah.
And she's running through this division already. So I think I think Pennington's gonna hold the belt for a little bit between Pennington and Pena. Probably gonna get a Holly Holm fight in there. Ketlin Vieira is probably gonna get a shot, but I think Mayra Bueno Silva will end up being the next person to dominate. And
Well, I think Irina Danya slept Caitlin Vieira, so he knocked her out.
yeah, but Irene Aldana, man, how do you recover from a life-changing ass beating like last
I
night?
don't know. I think it was a fight. It wasn't like she got slapped. I feel like it's a fight that she can learn from,
Right.
better from.
Yeah, no, for sure. Um, yeah, that'll do it for 289. What would you rate the card out of 10?
Actually, for how much hate it was getting from on Twitter and online, I'll give it an 8. There
I
wasn't a
agree.
fight where they didn't have those boring, sloppy heavyweight fights. Did they have one heavyweight fight?
No heavyweight fights.
So they
I
didn't have.
love it. No
I'll give it an
heavyweight
8.
fights,
What
man.
would you give it?
I give it an 8 as well. I think for how,
For Amanda Nunes being the main,
yes, for Manu's being the main, for how do I put it? The rest of the card didn't look good until the last few weeks when they started piecing it together. So I didn't have high hopes going into it. It was great. All the fights were pretty good, being honest, outside the no contest. Really good fights. None of the sloppy heavyweight fights, which is always a win. The crowd was awesome. The commentary was awesome too. Shout out Dan, Paul Felder, John Anik. It was good. It was really good. I would give it an 8
Who
for
does
sure.
who does Benil fight after the loss?
That's a tough one. I say Faziev
Ziev?
because he beat Gamrot, so just have him fight Faziev.
Or did he already fight Arman? Because Arman's fighting next week.
Let me see. I don't know if he fought Arm. I don't think he fought Armand.
Because that'd
No.
be interesting. Because Arman lost to Islam. He lost to Gamrot, close to Gamrot, and then Benil beat Gamrot.
Yeah.
That'd be interesting to see. Because it's so weird. Because all these guys have beaten each other, but they have just certain matchups that they just can't win against.
Yeah. And Fazier's coming off that loss to Gaethje. Yeah, that'll be interesting to see what they do with that division.
Then we got next week we got battle of the middleweights. We got Mark
no,
Vettori.
hold up. The day before that, Bellator 297, Nemkov versus Yoel.
Oh, Yoel Romero.
And Sergio Pettis is fighting Patricio Pitbull for the bantamweight title in Bellator. That's two really good fights right there.
Yeah, I got wait, which Pitbull brother is that? That's the
good one. That's the really good one.
That's the one that lost to AJ McKee?
Yes, yeah, Pitbull. Yep.
Sure.
Who's going for his third title in the third division, which is nuts.
Doing some boxing shit.
Yeah, and then Sergio Pettis, obviously Anthony Pettis, the current bantamweight champ. Then Nemkov, who has a win over Yuri Prohashka, versus the cyborg and Yoel Romero, who, please God, give us a better showing than what you did against Israel Adesanya, and I'll be happy. That's all I'm saying.
You might fuck around and pull something off.
Hey, yo, if he gets him by flying knee, I will not complain. But yeah, so that's on Friday. Now we can move on to the
Next week we
mid.
got battle of the middleweights. We got Marvin Vettori versus Jared Cannonier. Uh, I mean, this is a fight that needed to happen because we got to see, okay, which one of these guys is going to start, being a gatekeeper, and which of these guys is going to stay in the top five because they're kind of similar.
Okay.
They give off similar performances against Adesanya. Um, you don't really. They both lost to Robert Whitaker. They both don't really give appeal to fight Rob again. So this is only two guys that need to fight, and I don't even know who I got winning this fight. I'd say I want Jared to win because he's way less cringe, but I feel like Marvin. I don't know.
Like, how do I put this? I feel like the fight buildup and the press conferences will be worse than the fight because Marvin's one of the cringiest human beings ever, and then Jared Cannonier is just boring, man. He's so
Get them crystals out.
he,
Shout out to Nina Drama. I fuck with your interviews, but that Marvin Vittori interview is so cringe. Like you can
I
tell
feel
he's
like
like one of them guys that doesn't know how to talk to girls.
okay, here's the thing. Every fighter that does an interview with Nina Drama is trying to hit. And that's no disrespect to her. She does a great job interviewing, but like you can tell what the fighters also shout out Sean Strickland. Sean Strickland's interviews
The
this last
best.
week. Bro, Sean Strickland, give that man a mic and a camera crew 24/7.
They started a podcast, him and Chris Curtis, and
Yes, that
you
podcast
watch it. That
is
shit's hilarious.
very good. Yeah, Bukakas and Zach Pauga start this fight. Pauga, the one that got knocked out by Usman's brother. Jeez, this card,
Yeah,
wow.
Bukakis was that. He's that guy that had all those kicks against William Knight, right?
Yep.
I think so.
No. That was Prokinio. Yeah, Prokinio.
Bukakis.
Yeah, Bukakas is the Lithuanian one that tries to.
Oh, he's the guy that beat Tyson Pedro.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Then Ronnie Lawrence. I like Ronnie Lawrence.
Yes. This Nicholas Dalby and Salikov fight looks really good. Pat Sabatini's fighting. I cannot complain about that. I like Pat Sabatini.
Is that this Alexander Costa guy? That's the guy that fights out of shooter box that got robbed in his first debut fight.
Yes. That is him. What's the other one? Oh, Christian Duncan fighting Armin Petrosian. That'll be a good fight for sure. Armin versus Joaquim Silva. Armin's a minus 1,000 favorite going into this fight.
Oh yeah, he's fighting an unranked guy. He's number 8. I don't even know who Silva is. This guy a newcomer?
He's 34.
7-3.
12-4. Let's see. No, he's fought in the UFC before, and he is 2-3 in his last 5.
Oh.
I don't know why they gave Armin this fight.
I mean, it must be a replacement. He must have had somebody booked before.
I think it was pretty sure it was a replacement. I forgot who dropped out, but yeah, no, I mean the card. This card's okay. It's not the greatest for being
He's supposed to
honest.
fight Moicano. That's what.
Hanato Moicano. Yeah, that would have been a good fight. That would have been a really good fight. I'm not looking forward to this card if I'm being honest with you.
I am just because I wanted to see what happens between Victoria and Cannonier. That's I don't care about them, but I just want to see. I'm like intrigued now. Like I want to see who wins, even though
yeah, I
because I have
feel
no
like
idea. I have no idea who's going to win this fight.
both guys fight like Cannonier fights really timid at times, right? And I don't understand why. And Vettori just lays on guys on the fence, and it's annoying for being honest. But I do want to see what happens between those two. Vettori coming in at a 125 favorite, which it's a little high for me. I think Cannonier should come in favored because if we're being honest, Vettori robbed Delize in his last fight. Like there's no way Vettori won that fight.
And I think Cannonier robbed Sean Strickland.
Yeah, I agree 100%. But again, these guys, I think this fight's the competition for who takes over Derek Brunson's gatekeeper spot at middleweight. For being honest, but yeah, it's at the Apex too. Other news: Brendan Loughnane got knocked out in PFL. The featherweight champ, got knocked out in PFL. which is a big blow for PFL because it's a good underdog story, but that was also their cash cow outside of Ngannou was Brendan Loughnane, a guy that didn't get signed coming out of the Contender Series, a guy that lost on Tough before that. His big thing was he was the champ, made $1 million, sticking it to the UFC, and now he gets knocked out by Jesus Pinheiro in a huge underdog fight. Yeah, PFL is kind of a mess now. Marlon Moraes got knocked out. They're half their. I don't know if you saw that, but for those that don't know, half their light heavyweight division tested positive for PEDs, including Thiago Santos. So they had to pull out most of the fights on the card the week before, and their light heavyweight division's like down to like 5 or 6 fighters now. It's
You saw that
horrible.
Yana, yeah, you saw the Yana Santos.
Oh man, no, PFL's a mess right now, man. The deal with Ngannou looks super suspect right now.
But you see, Deontay Wilder said he's down to do a mix different fights, fight with him, like do a boxing and then do MMA. So I would actually want to watch that. That's the only guy I would want to watch him fight is Deontay Wilder.
I wouldn't
Because
mind
Deontay
it.
Wilder's not that skillful.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind it. My deal is, man, it's like, what is the? I get it. They have the whole deal with Bellator supposedly going through next year, but like, what is the plan now? You got your light heavyweight division testing positive. Your cash cow, uh, they've had 2 lose in the last 2 years because Kayla Harrison lost last year, right? When they were angling for her to get that fight with Amanda. Um, yeah, it's not looking good for PFL right now, for being honest. Marlon Moraes was a big guy, a big name they brought back. He used to be a champ when they were World Series of Fighting. He got knocked out or retired. And I don't know. I feel like the interest in PFL, man, like I don't watch the PFL fights till after. If I'm being honest, I can't watch the live show. It's
That's the difference between UFC and these other orgs. Is just the viewership is just kind of not as good. The commentators is not as good.
yes,
Commentators aren't as decorated, or they're not known as decorated as like DC and stuff like that. Dominic Cruz, Paul Felder. So I don't know.
yeah, and I feel like BKFC is honestly putting out a better product now than PFL.
Yeah, BKFC. Yeah, because they're doing the. It really is the short term content that pushes your shit, like doing the reels and stuff like that. So BKFC works because they get a lot of knockouts, they get a lot of cuts, they get a lot of blood, they get a lot of shit that makes people like, wow, what the fuck? And click on it, you know. So,
Right. And it's tough because PFL kind of has Bellator syndrome that Bellator had in the early days, right? Bellator now has produced a lot of their own talent, which is good. But PFL is still working off the scraps of UFC and Bellator. Like I'm looking at the list of champs right now, right? That Bellator's had. Felipe Lins, who is unranked as a heavyweight in the UFC, was a PFL champ. Marlon Moraes from his World Series of Fighting, uh, Antonio Carlos Jr., the shoe face guy, Olivier Albin Mercier, Brendan Loughnane. Like these are all guys that didn't cut it in the UFC that PFL now has to market as.
Shane Burgos.
Yes, yeah, and Shane Burgos lost, so it's like, hey, this is the guy now. Even though he didn't cut it in the UFC, this is the guy now. And I think they're going to run into that with Ngannou because one, who are you going to have Ngannou fight in PFL outside of 46-year-old Fabricio Verdum? That's going to attract the same way a Gon fight or a John Jones fight would. No one, right? So it's tough because their main marketing thing is if you win this tournament, you get $1 million. And they do the big check thing or whatever. And it's like, all right, that's cute. Are you selling pay-per-views? Are you selling enough product to be able to make that? Are you getting enough people watching where that $1 million is going to mean anything? No, because guess what? A guy is getting paid 600 and 600, right? Winning show money, like a Brandon Moreno. I'd rather watch him than watch your $1 million tournament in PFL. It's just the UFC markets it better. They're fighting better competition. It's just better, it is. And they already failed
And the
with
best fight the best.
they failed with Claressa Shields because Claressa Shields lost. They failed with Anthony Pettis. Let's not forget Anthony Pettis got his ass kicked, right, when he went to PFL. They failed with Shane Burgos now. They failed with Kayla Harrison. They now fail with Brendan Loughnane, who lost. I don't know, man. Ngannou, like I said, that deal is probably going to sink him into bankruptcy if it's as big as it's being rumored. But
Not him, but PFL.
Yeah, yeah,
You're gonna get the money no matter what.
yeah. So I mean, that's that is what I have for news when it comes to PFL. Other news in MMA before we go. Dana White said he wasn't shocked in Amanda Nunes retiring. I don't think any of us were either. It was kind of getting there. She says that door shut. There won't be a comeback. I don't believe until I see it. You can never say never in MMA. Not really a lot of fight announcements. Oh, Bigfoot Silva retired after his 11th straight loss. For those that don't remember Bigfoot Silva, he's the guy that Cain Velasquez made him leak out like half his blood on the mat. It was one of the bloodiest fights I've ever seen. He lost 11 straight fights after that. So yeah, definitely time to retire. After TRT, the TRT ban never the same. Shevchenko says she's getting ready for that Grasso rematch. Says she's feeling at her best. Excited to see that fight. Not really. Oh, Myra Bueno Silva is fighting Holly Holm. That's the next fight. That
Yeah.
we're talking about. That's gonna be a good fight.
I'm saying if Holly Holmes wins, she'll get the title shot. I promise you.
Yeah, please Bueno Silva, please Myra,
Please.
please.
I mean, shout out to Holly Holmes for calling out the trans shit,
Yeah.
but hey, next episode we'll be back. We'll be back to talk about Cannonier versus Vettori Fight Night, and then we're gonna have to go to Rumble, bro. We're off YouTube now. We're gonna have to go to Rumble.
This is the best podcast in mixed martial arts. If you haven't found us yet, this is why we're probably getting shadow banned now.
Yeah, we're only gonna get more unfiltered. Like honestly, we're not even really that unfiltered on our shit. Okay, we need to be more unfiltered, bro. We blow up a lot more.
Casey O'Neill got booked against Viviane Araujo at UFC in Sydney 293. Oh my gosh, man. Yeah, shout out Holly Holm for that. Shout out
But
Sean Strickland
that'll do
too.
it. That'll do it for Glove Talk episode 16. Next week we'll be back to break down Kenny versus Vettori, and then the upcoming Josh Emmett versus Ilya Tapora. Taporia is one of our favorite fighters, so
Oh
can't wait
my
for that.
gosh,
So
I love
we'll be
Ilya.
back for episode 17. We'll see you guys next week, and subscribe, like, follow us on IG at the Glove Talk Podcast, and see you next time.
Thank you, ESPN, for taking Michael Bisping off the commentary this week. I appreciate it.